This is my virtual symposium for Info 287 at San Jose State University, or Info 5960 at my home university, the University of North Texas. This presentation takes a look at my top 5 takeaways from our class on the Hyperlinked Library. Takeaway number 1. The only thing that should be constant is change. As I wrote in August 3 months ago, but what seems like 3 years ago, our foundational readings by Casey and Savastinic echoed Ranganathan's fifth law of library science: the library is a growing organism. This came up again in my context book assignment, where Palfrey's book Bibliotech considers how librarians should approach the quickly changing field of librarianship, and again just last week, when considering how to be reflective librarians, which is essential for honest assessment of programs and services. Yes, it is challenging to embrace change, and not just implementing new ideas into the library. As Casey and Stevens note, the hardest part is often the re-examination of ideas, allowing libraries to keep what is working and to adapt what is not. But a successful and engaging library is one that continually adapts to its users' needs. The user is not broken, as Schneider put it. She is growing and changing, and so should the library, to change with her. Takeaway number 2. Stories are powerful. We need to collect them from our community. Yes, a library collects books and shares access to electronic resources. But a library is also a place that keeps stories, makes stories, shares stories, as Dr. Stevens put it in our lecture for Module 4. We need to help our patrons see beyond old definitions of what libraries collect and store, in order to help document our present for the future. Some of my favorite resources this semester were on storytelling and collecting stories and objects from the community. The videos from StoryCorps, where oral histories are animated and bring these stories to life, or the technology used at Doc Delft to collect objects from patrons and share them with the community at large. Collecting stories allows us to learn from fellow patrons about their experiences, and it helps us grow together as a community. Takeaway number 3. Technology can be used to create community, both virtually and in person. Nothing has struck me more about this class than its sense of community. While we are located in several different states, and our fearless leader teaches a class through a university in California from Michigan, our blog and group chats have brought us together more than any other class I've taken in grad school. A lot of that is due to intention. Dr. Stevens has created an environment founded on empathy. Even though it may seem like the world is falling apart around us, in wildfires, in a pandemic, in politics, he makes sure that we feel safe, at least within the bounds of our class. He gives us the confidence described by Sally Pure-Rangi as essential for experimentation with technology and new ideas. Such experimentation can be done learning with others, and our class proves that it doesn't need to be done on site with fellow colleagues. It can, of course, but we don't need to be limited to that environment. This takes me back again to Palfrey, who encourages readers to network with other librarians and to learn from each other. This class is proof that we can learn next to each other or from a distance. As long as it's done with intention and the desire to learn, it's possible. Takeaway number 4. Beware of technolust. Plan, budget, and assess. Repeat. As Dr. Stevens warned in 2008, new technologies will not save your library. We can't simply buy the latest gadgets, put them on display for loans, and then step back and wait for hordes of patrons to gush about how wonderful they are. New tech requires planning, programming, and assessment. Both Casey and Savastinic and Matthews discussed this in readings from early in our semester. As I wrote in my first reflection post, Casey and Savastinic refer to it as investigation, planning, and review. Matthews describes it as build, measure, and learn. Same thing, just more succinct. Part of that planning needs to be talking to your community. What do they want to learn more about? What would help them experiment and learn more? What is best for your community? As Gabri Krista, the director of a movement lab at Barnard College, points out when discussing the tech used at her lab as well as in her experimentations with technology and performance. Why would we use technology? And really think about it really clearly. When is it necessary? When is it just a gadget? When is it needed? And finally, takeaway 5. Our humanity is more important than our technology. This may have been emphasized in the last 2 modules in particular, but it's been a theme throughout our class. Casey and Savastenic explain in their introduction to Library 2.0 that participatory service and change are the heart of Library 2.0, and technology is a tool that can help us get there. It is librarians and patrons driving these programs and innovations, not technology. As Dr. Stevens pointed out in the introduction to Module 3, the Hyperlinked Library is built on human connections and conversations. This humanity underlies collecting the stories of our community, actively including all the members of our community, particularly the non-users or less frequent users, or users that do not look like ourselves, or even redesigning the library from the ground up in the manner of anything in order to redefine what the library is to better connect with the community. This also means recognizing that librarians are human and fallible. We need to experiment and fail in order to learn. We need to acknowledge that life goes on outside the library for all of us. Corkindale uses the death of a loved one to remind us to be kind to one another, but it could just as easily be the ongoing care of a parent, a child struggling with dyslexia, or simply having too much on one's plate at any given moment. Technology has enabled us to learn together, but the people in this class have created a community through it. It has inspired me to take these lessons to heart as I look for a job next year, hoping that I can find a position similar to the several Dr. Stevens has shared through us throughout the semester. I'm so thankful for this course and the people I've met through it. Here is to bigger and better things in 2021.